And for more on what the upcoming IAEA announcement could mean for Iran, I'm joined by Farhad Alavi. He's an international law expert who specializes in trade and U.S. sanctions. He's also an adjunct professor of Islamic finance at Georgetown Law. Thank you so much. Welcome back to the show. Is there anything at this point that could actually prevent or stop this announcement from happening?
I mean, some unannounced or unexpected activity happens in the Iranian nuclear facilities that would prevent Iran from attaining reaching its obligations and fulfilling its obligations pursuant to the nuclear deal. That could delay things, obviously. But really, the agreement requires that Iran fulfill certain obligations, and once that's been done, then the IAEA has to provide its certification, and then the sanctions repeal will begin.
So how significant is this development, not just economically, but also with the relationships involving this country? What does it mean to get to this point finally?
I think it's a landmark deal. I mean, this has been an issue ostensibly for 10 years, but really for longer than that. And it has caused Iran quite dearly economically and politically, and that's had ripple effects inside the country as well on all kinds of activities, from academic activities to cultural activities. So this is a watershed moment in the sense that it will be the beginning of Iran coming out of isolation after many years, and that could lead to many different ripple effects, both economically and politically.
A lot of eyes watching what will happen in possibly the next few hours, the next few days. But how soon will Iranians actually notice a difference in their everyday lives? And when will we see things start to move?
Well, the laws will change in the coming days as expected, but until, we will have to wait and see when the private sector and the governments and the companies will start engaging with one another. And that's when we'll start seeing some changes. There are some changes that are naturally psychological, as we see in the stock market, for example, when something important happens. But for permanent type changes, I think it will take, a couple, some weeks and months until this deal settles in and becomes more apparent that it's a done deal. And the long-term effects will take longer, naturally, but I think there will be some impact very visibly in the next few months.
You mentioned the stock market. We also see what's happening around the world with oil and oil prices. Once these sanctions are lifted, do you see Iran putting its oil on the market, given everything that is happening right now?
I think the fact that the price of oil has gone down and oil is Iran's main source of hard currency, which it badly needs for investment and paying its expenditures, it's natural that Iran will try to allocate as much of its oil as it can for export. Now, that said, Iran is a very large country. It consumes quite a bit of oil domestically, and it will remain to be seen how much the government will choose to allocate towards export versus internal consumption.
What's happening behind the scenes right now with companies, you mentioned the private sector, waiting for this to happen? We've also heard reports the last few months of companies going there, looking at starting businesses, starting investment. Walk us through what's been happening.
Sure. There's been a lot of exploration by foreign companies, mainly non-U.S., because the U.S. companies will still be under substantial regulations. But a lot of companies around the world have been exploring the idea of going back into Iran, or at least expanding their operations if they're already there. Naturally, the laws have not completely changed yet. But once that happens, I think you'll see more concrete decision-making happening from the corporate side. They will be able to enter into contracts and be able to resume business. And I think what's been happening right now has been more low-level type activities that have been less sensitive to the sanctions or less exposed to the sanctions have been taking place in more, I guess you could say, innocuous sectors of the economy.
All right, Farhad Alavi, we appreciate your insight. Thank you so much for joining us.